which was about half the length it had been before, but it still did not look good. And it was still too long to look masculine. But I was asked to take him on soul winning, and I said, sure, I'll take him. And I was thinking on the inside, oh, brother, I'm going to have to go visiting with him standing by my side. And I tell you, it's never happened before or after in my life, but every door except for one was slammed in our face that day. I don't mean they said no thank you. I mean they rolled their eyes and closed the door. And I didn't even get to show this guy how to witness to somebody. We're driving back to the church, and David is telling me about where he's been reading in the scripture. And it's kind of quiet on the way back to the church. My barbershop is right across the street from the church, and we're on the way back, and he says, Pastor, I've been thinking about it. If I'm gonna witness like this, I'm really representing the Lord, am I not? And I said, yes, you are. And he said, and I'm representing our church, right? And I said, that's right. And he said, well, maybe I ought to get a haircut like yours. What would you say? I said, right there across the street. But you know who showed him that? The Lord did. The Lord did. And we as Christians, we need to learn to be discreet. Sometimes we open our foot and we open our mouth and we insert our foot so far we're chewing on our kneecap. You know what I'm saying? And we need to have discretion. But we can develop discretion. The wise learn to be discreet. If you seek the Lord for wisdom, you'll find discretion. Verse 12 says, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. Now that expression there, without going into the Hebrew, let me just quickly say that speaking of discretion, it's speaking of things that aren't necessarily obvious, but things that are discreet. You can know discretion is the idea of that verse. So, letter A, the simple can understand. Letter B, the fool can have a change of heart. Letter C, the listening ear can know what is right. We're talking about wisdom's promises. Letter D, the heart can value correction. The heart that values correction can find true wisdom. And letter E, the wise learn to be discreet. Letter F, the wise fear the Lord and hate what he hates. You read verse 13, you've been talking about wisdom all along, and it seems like he's changed the subject here because he doesn't use the word wisdom there in verse 13. He simply says the fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Wait a minute, I thought we were talking about wisdom. Now you're talking about fear of the Lord. You know why he used that word there? Because the ideas are synonymous. There is no wisdom where there is no fear of the Lord. So you seek the Lord, you fear the Lord, that's where you will find wisdom. The wise fear the Lord and they hate what he hates. So again, verse 13, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. Some of you have heard me say before when I use the word hate, especially if our children are here, and I like to say this because in a lot of our homes we teach our children not to use the word hate. In some of our homes, our children think of the word hate because of what we've taught them as being a foul word. I'll never forget using the word hate one time and seeing Brindley back there sitting by her dad. And as soon as I said the word hate, I saw her go, he said hate. So why do we teach our children not to say hate? Well, we teach them not to say hate because children don't know what should be hated. Now, listen, if you love God and you find his wisdom, you will find that there are some things that should be detested. And God, he tells us in Proverbs 6, which we've already looked at, 6 things do I hate. Yea, 7 is an abomination, which means especially detestable, an abomination. So the wise fear the Lord and they hate what he hates. You say, well, I'll tell you what, I hate homosexuality, or I hate adultery, or I hate... You know the best place to start when it comes to hating sin? Anybody want to guess? Hate your own. Yeah, hate your own. If we go look in the mirror and consider where we have compromised on God's truth, that's where we ought to start. In fact, that's what the Bible teaches. That's not just my idea. That's not a clever idea. Matthew 7 says, judge not that you be not judged, but it goes on to say that if you have a mote in your eye and your brother has a speck in his eye, don't go deal with what's in your brother's eye. Deal with what's in your eye first, and then you'll be able to help your brother with what's in his eye. If we judge others, we'll not be judged, Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Chapter 11. So it's important to deal with our own sin, to hate our own sin. And the closer we get to the Lord, the more we'll hate our own sin. Do you get frustrated with your sin? Yeah, I was up here praying by myself a moment ago. I don't usually do this when I'm praying with somebody, but I was praying a moment ago. And I was confessing some things to the Lord that I'm tired of, that I hate. And when I spend time with the Lord and I draw close to the Lord, it causes me to have a hatred for my sin. So if I stay close to the Lord, I can keep hating it and stay away from it by His power. So the wise fear the Lord and hate what He hates. Letter G, the wise are positioned for success. Now, again, we're looking at promises, the promises of wisdom that are given in verses 5 to 21. Look now at verse 14. There's a long passage here that we're going to read, and boy, am I needing to hurry up. Chapter 8, verse 14. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign and princes decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I lead in the way of righteousness in the midst of the path of judgment, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will find their treasures. The wise are positioned for success. Now, I'm not preaching health and wealth prosperity here. I'm not suggesting that you'll have all the riches of this world if you're wise. In fact, what this Proverbs counsels us to realize is that the wisdom of the Lord is better than fine silver. It's better than gold. But the idea is it positions you for success. It positions you for success in life. All right, in verses 22 through 31, we may not be able to read all of these verses. Well, you know what? I think I can. No, I think I won't. Let's just briefly think about wisdom's pedigree. Wisdom's pedigree. What do we mean by that? Well, two things. First of all, wisdom is sourced in God Himself. It is sourced in God Himself. Look at verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of His way before His works of old. And I want you to notice a phrase in verse 30. Then I was by Him as one brought up with Him, and I was daily His delight, rejoicing always before Him. As one brought up with Him. In other words, when somebody's brought up with you, you're not focusing on which one came first. This is not saying that the Lord was brought up. The Lord has always been, but that's the point. The Lord has always been, and wisdom's always been with the Lord. Wisdom is